Hi, I'm Wayne Skinner, and today we're going to do a bit of a blurb on bird photography.
And I'm Karl, and I'll be doing the same with Wayne, and hope everyone at the Camera Club's doing well with everything that's going on at the moment, and we look forward to our regular meetings again. So
Now, I suppose Karl and myself are very unaccustomed to this type of thing, so you'll have to go easy on us. So we're going to make mistakes, but we'll try and pull it off. To start with, bird photography can be very frustrating at times, not getting the shot or the one with the wow factor. But I think you just got to keep it at it. Eventually the reward will come. And Karl's the same, we've both been doing this for about the same amount of time.
yeah, we kind of both started off. Well, Wayne has been taking photos for a lot longer, but we kind of started off. I think it was the end of 2015, start 2016. We kind of really got into it, and just progressed from there to where we are now, with a lot of hard work on YouTube and just working together really to overcome problems and just get to where we are now.
Yeah, and after a while it becomes an obsession. You sort of you can't wait to get out and try and improve every shot. So yeah. As you probably realise, bird photography has become very popular. I go on YouTube a fair bit, and I tend to get a lot of pointers from there. And you can always learn by, for an example, Steve Perry. He's an American, but he'll go into all the settings and how he does his bird life photography. So,
Steve's from Backcountry Gallery.
that's the man.
Gallery,
yeah.
He's very good, actually.
Yeah.
It really goes into a lot of detail.
Yeah.
So he's only one of them. There's heaps out there, but I reckon he's one of the better ones. So you could always sort of gauge it from him. Okay, so
Yeah, and I'm the same. I follow Steve, and I follow Jan. I think if I don't pronounce it right, sorry, it's Jan Regner. He is a Canon user, which is a shame. But in saying that, a lot of his tips and tricks you can put back into, not just back into your camera, but back into your general bird photography as well. But once again, what you see coming out of the camera is not what you see printed. So there's a lot of work goes into the processing of his images as well, as do ours.
that's right. Now it's always a good idea to have a field bird book like the one I've got here. It's Australian Bird Guide. It's pretty comprehensive. It's the latest one out. There are other books, but I find this is pretty good. And the other thing is to get to know the habitat of the species that you're trying to photograph.
And that's the key.
Yeah, to find it.
Get to know, learn your bird first before you go hunting for your bird, so you know its habits, where it's going to be, what time of the year it'll be. Because not all birds are in the area for 12 months of the year. As your bee eaters, they come in kind of
they're seasonal. So
October, and they leave around March the following year.
Yeah.
So, and they're quite a good bird to, they kind of nest in the sand, and so you look for a sandy area around town and just wait for them to do their thing. Same as
that's right.
a lot of your diamond firetails. I love photographing them, but even though they live within the area, they're not in the same spot all the time. So you just got to follow them around. They like following the seasonal seagrass and things that pops up. So yeah, you learn your species before you go hunting for them.
Yeah, then it won't be sort of hit and miss. You think you're going out there to get a particular bird, but they may not be there. And same if you go looking for eagles, they're not going to be in the undergrowth, and vice versa. So, and one of the other thing is, when you see a bird that you want to photograph, you don't sort of walk straight up to it. you actually sort of just walk quietly to the side a bit and then just see how they react, because they sort of, the little ones tend to sort of be a little bit skittish, and they'll just take off
That'll be it.
as soon as you
All
get
over.
close. But the best thing I find too is to take a couple of shots even from a distance, because at least that way you can actually sort of have a couple of shots that may be usable, and then depends on the species that you've got. You know, you might be able to get in a little bit closer to get, you know, a better shot. And the other thing is not to wear bright clothing, because that tends to sort of startle them a little bit too. They tend to get a bit spookish. And now, the other thing is to try and get low to the bird rather than sort of down on the bird. So you actually sort of on nearly the same plane as what they are, because it looks better. You create a nice background, a nice smooth background, which is bokeh.
That's the key. And that's,
I think that's how you
oh yeah,
pronounce it.
I've kind of, it's taken me a while, but I've finally worked it out. It is true. The lower you can get, it's probably some of you would have seen on my Facebook page, I put up some photos of a swan and the black duck the other day. I started off just sitting on the side of the dam, photographing them, and they looked good.
Mm.
And then I thought, as I said, get it as low as you can. So I laid down right on the water's edge, and the camera was an inch off the water. And it just completely made that duck just come out of that background. It would just
Yeah.
look completely different image
Yeah.
from sitting on the edge, going to laying on the edge. It was a completely, it almost looked professional.
Yeah.
It really did look good. And the edit, there was really little editing to that image, because
Yeah, because the background was
because
blown
it
out.
was really good to start with.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a good thing. Like, yes, if you see a bird, take a photo, but just try and, if it's sitting on the branch, just wait till it comes out, so you can get that nice, smooth, clean background without 100 branches in the back
Yeah.
ruining the shot.
And the other thing is, in breeding season too, don't get too close to the nesting birds, because it's a bit of a no-no, because some of the birds may never go back. They'll sort of up and go, and
Yeah.
you've lost them. So even though you may be able to get, you know, good shots, try and get them at a, you know, sort of a fair distance, so you're not sort of disturbing the birds. You could set up a wireless remote sensor on a tripod, and you can do it that way, so you're not actually sort of near the bird. They seem to sort of, once the human's there, they seem to be off and go. So
But yeah, end of the day, it's best to keep away. But you'll learn, just keep away from the nest, because if you sit and watch the bird, you'll see the bird will normally come back to the same tree if you're trying to get it with a mouth
yeah,
full of crickets, or
that's right.
they'll normally come back to the
They'll
same
come
tree,
back.
then they'll go to the nest. So
Yeah, and you can sort of gauge it
Just
on that, and then
avoid
you
the
can
nest
set up
itself.
you can set your camera up remotely and do
sit
it that
back
way.
Sit back with a trigger and fire it.
And 50, 40 metres away, and then just zap it when you're ready to take the photo. The other thing is the camera gear that Karl and myself use, we're very similar. We both use the Nikon D500,
D500s.
which are there. We've both got the 200 to 500 f5.6 lens, and sometimes I may even use a 1.4 TC or teleconverter, just to get that little bit of more distance out of it. Now, we differ a little bit with the settings that we use. Most of my settings are, say, 1 to 2,000th of a second to 1 to 4,000. F8, single point focus, auto ISO, and spot exposure metering, white balance auto, AF continuous, and in RAW format. So that's what I have. Karl's very
And
similar.
I'm pretty similar, but yeah, I'd kind of 1/1250th a second up to that. Depending on the bird, if the bird's sitting still on the branch, yeah, 800 to 1200. But birds in flight, well, they're a whole new
it's a whole new
story again.
Yeah.
So your shutter speed is going to be a lot higher. But yeah, I go from 5.6 to f8
Yeah,
for my f-stop, single focus with a bird, and always put that focus point on the eye, because
yeah.
a bird without a sharp eye just goes in the delete bin.
Yeah,
Doesn't
what-
matter if the wings are a bit blurry.
No, well,
That
that's
doesn't faze me much at all if the wings are a bit blurred.
no.
But
Well,
if
actually,
if that eye's not there,
well, with the
That's-
wings, if it's a little bit blurred, like that one there, is pretty sharp, but it's that type of bird. But you know, if you can get a small bird and you've got the eye nice and sharp, is what Karl's saying, and the wings are a little bit blurred, it gives a sensation of you know, they're moving, even though it's a still photo.
yeah, I'm the same. I use spot metering and auto white balance, and
AF continuous.
I didn't shoot in RAW for a long time, but now, after getting the hang of RAW, it's the go-to for everything. It's just brilliant. And
Right.
auto continuous.
Yeah, AF continuous and that. So yeah, and you sort of learn along the way, but these are sort of some of the guidelines that we sort of have come up with over the period of time that we've been doing it. And the main thing is you've got to have a lot of patience and dedication to it. But personally, I just find it's great to get out there with nature and the birds and, you know, try and get these shot.
So we're going to we'll just go through some photos now that Wayne and myself have taken. So we're going to start off with a few of Wayne's photos to start with.
Okay, well that was a brown thornbill. It was taken down at Ballarat and very obliging. He sort of sat there and let me take his photo and it turned out really good. I was wrapped in that one. Yes, well I do. I like getting, the eye's got to be nice and sharp and it's got to be crystal clear, you know, and that's a good photo. The back can sort of get a little bit blurry, but the main thing is the eye. And if you can get that, then yeah, you've done pretty well. Whereas this is an Australian bittern, and yes, you can see the eye, but it's not as pronounced as a close-up one. He's flying past,
and he's not a very common bird either.
and he's not common. They've listed as endangered. This was taken down at Nelson, and a few months ago before the lockdown, and I was very fortunate to get a photo even of those because they're pretty rare even down there, so I was happy with that one. This one's a crimson chat. It was taken up at Hopetoun, and yeah, it was hard to get, but he's got a grub in his mouth, as you can see, and yeah, he's just, his nest was a fair way away, but he's coming into the...
And that was, like we said before, he kept coming back to that same
Yes.
point before he
Yeah.
flew back into the nest.
And we're a fair way away from that. I've sort of cropped that a fair bit, and so it wasn't as if we were sort of being a nuisance to him. So yeah, it was a good one. I like that one.
But yeah, one of those birds that weren't supposed to be there, to come out of the middle of Australia looking for
Yeah,
water and food, and
yeah.
we're lucky to get them.
And that one on the 2009 sort show first prizes.
It did too. Yeah, glad you brought that up.
I wasn't going to mention that.
That's the same bird, and he's just a portrait, and you can see that beautiful little bird. They're only, what, 100,
Probably a sparrow.
yeah, about a sparrow
About a
size.
sparrow.
Yeah. Diamond firetail, that was taken out the back of the mine,
Local word.
local place, and yeah, they're a beautiful little bird, and they're around most of the year. A female gang cockatoo that was out at Fines Creek out the Grampians. It's coming into a little water there. It was fairly hot this day, and that was taken back summertime. That's a great crested grebe. That was down Lake Wendouree. And yeah, it's fascinating to watch those birds. It's especially the courtship. And yeah, they're beautiful little birds. That's a juvenile grey butcherbird taken out of Western Australia. Last year it was. And yeah, he just sat there, flitted around, and he got a unique sort of call on him. And it's just so fascinating. I think they're related to the magpie. Yeah, they are. First time I saw them was up on the Gold Coast, and they started this song that they put out, and it just reverberated all around the buildings and that. But yeah,
Insane, a very nice song. They're a very nasty bird too, because they will eat anything.
Yes, they will. Yeah, they can be nasty.
Even their own, they just...
Yeah. That's the gold-billed tern. It was taken out at Nelson. And they're a migratory bird. They come down that particular time of the year. It was back in about February. And then they breed, and then they go back. I'm not quite sure where these come from. Might be from Siberia. But yeah, they have a long track. Kookaburra, laughing kookaburra. Got him down as you can see, I was on the same level as what he was. I'm not quite sure what it is, but some sort of beetle or something like that. And yeah, he's playing around with it for a little while there.
I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose it kind of looks like a spider too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looked like a bit of a spider. There's a pair of the great crested grebes. It's same place out at Wendouree, and doing their courtship, and yeah, it's very fascinating to watch them. That's a Nankeen night heron, and that was down at Nelson, and he just sat there for ages. So I was able to get a couple of nice shots of him too. And that's the other shot of him. That's the purple-back.
Purple-back wren or variegated.
Yeah, it depends on
which side of the Great
side
Divide.
of the Great Divide. Yeah.
Same bird, different name.
Yeah, and that was taken up at Houghton, and it was flitting in and out this underbrush, and they're a beautiful little bird. They're cousins, obviously, to the sort of superb fairy wren. Peregrine falcon. Was taken out at...
Secret location?
Secret, Galton's Gorge, yeah. Everyone knows about it, so, yeah. And they go there every year to breed, and they've been doing there for decades, really. And they're the fastest animal on the planet, I think. They get up to, like in a dive, about 320 k's.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Rainbow bee-eater, that was taken out at Lake Lonsdale. He was coming out of his burrow, and I think it's a bit of charcoal in his mouth. I was lucky to get that one. And you can see all the sand of that as he's coming out.
And they were nesting amongst the campers.
Yeah, just in amongst the campers. It was
the campers were only 15, 20 metres away.
And a lot of them wouldn't know, but yeah. That's a reed warbler. That was taken down at Lake Wendouree again, and just up the back there. I forget what they call it. There's a little swamp up the back there, and yeah, they sort of whistle and carry on. Silver gold, that was taken out at Nelson. I was lucky to get that one with the perfect reflection, and he sat there for ages actually. So yeah, it was good. Striated Part1. I'm not quite sure where I took that one. But yeah, they're a beautiful little bird. Oh, that was out at that swamp. They're out at Mount Dryden Road.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah. a juvenile wedge-tail eagle.
That one is a secret spot.
That is a secret spot, that one. Yeah, we're not really allowed to tell, but yeah, it's a beautiful little bird, that one. A little weevil was taken out of the back of my place, so I'm lucky to have them. They're there 12 months of the year. And yeah, I love it sort of watching them, the higher part of the canopy of the trees. And but this one came down and yeah, very obliging.
The smallest bird in Australia.
They're the smallest bird in Australia.
And they're quite easy to call in. They're probably one of the easier.
Yeah, with that app I was mentioned before about...
you don't overcall them, just get them in and get them interested and they'll sit around and get your photo and off they go.
And they'll come down and yeah, have a bit of a play around.
No, they're quite a nice bird.
That's the same bird, not a real good photo, but they're very hard to get in flight. And that was taken out of the back of my place, a pair of yellow-tailed black cockatoos. There's a pair of them. You can see the difference in the eye colours. And yeah, they just sat there for ages. I was lucky again to get those.
So which one would be female?
The top one's a female and then the bottom one's
Male's got
a
the red
male
eye.
with a red eye.